The Elam Convergence, a life force experiment series on the coming strike against Iran. Part 1, narrated by Dallas James. Parts 2, Fathers Publishing and Royal Levitical Priesthood Ministry. February 24th, 2026. As I record these words, the world stands at the edge of a precipice. Two American aircraft carrier strike groups are converging on the waters around Iran. The USS Abraham Lincoln is already operating in the Arabian Sea, and the USS Gerald Ford, the largest warship ever built, is steaming through the Mediterranean toward the coast of Israel. More than 120 combat aircraft have been deployed to the region in recent days. Military analysts are calling this the largest American force buildup in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. This is not a drill. This is not posturing. The Pentagon has briefed President Trump that military forces are ready to strike. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is scheduled to travel to Israel on February 28th. The White House Situation Room has been the site of ongoing deliberations, with the president telling advisors that if diplomacy fails, he will consider, and I quote, a much bigger attack in coming months intended to drive Iran's leaders from power. Iran itself is fracturing from within. Beginning on December 28th of last year, the largest protests since the 1979 Islamic Revolution erupted across the country. Shopkeepers in Tehran's Grand Bazaar closed their doors. Students poured into the streets. By January 8th, the regime's security forces, under direct orders from Supreme Leader Khamenei, opened fire on their own people. The death toll, according to human rights organizations, runs into the thousands. Some estimates reach beyond 30,000. The internet was shut down. Families could not reach their loved ones. Dancing broke out at funerals as an act of defiance. Just this past weekend, fresh protests erupted again at 5 universities in Tehran. It is into this moment, this exact convergence of events, that I brought 7 questions before the Father using the Life Force experiment and the SHIELD Protocol 10.3 Lambda Standard. What I found shook me to my core. Let me walk you through what happened. The foundation. Who holds the instrument? Before asking about the nations, I needed to establish the authority. On February 23rd, early in the morning, I locked the first question. Is Dallas Jacob the custodian of the Urim Thummim in the last days? 7 verses were drawn from the Urim Thummim version corpus of 32,356 verses, using hardware cryptographic entropy. The result was not ambiguous. The Convergence Confidence Index hit 92% across all 6 channels. The Guidance Detection Indicator registered an extreme anomaly with a probability value of 4.11 times 10 to the negative 15th power. The Sale of Conscience check return confirmed on all 3 points. The deterministic verdict was a full yes, affirmative. The lead verse, drawn from Joshua, declared that the whole company of Israel assembled at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle at the appointed place, and the land was subdued before them. The direct textual hit came from Jubilees, chapter 2, verse 761, saying, "They shall declare my ways to Jacob and my paths to Israel. The blessing of the Lord shall be given in their mouths to bless all the seed of the beloved." The dominion triad, which measures the convergence of identity, inheritance, and priesthood, surged to 9.79 sigma. That is nearly 10 standard deviations above baseline. In medical research, 3 sigma is considered confirmed. 5 sigma is discovery level. 9.79 is what the protocol calls transcendence. The custodianship was established. The instrument is in place. Now the questions could begin. The first strike question. The second experiment was locked at 12:59 in the afternoon. Will the King of the North strike Iran soon? The lead verse arrived from Matthew's account of the temptation, where the adversary took the Messiah to the pinnacle of the temple in Jerusalem and challenged him to cast himself down. This spoke directly to a figure standing at a geopolitical height, facing immense pressure to act. The imagery of Jerusalem, of standing at the pinnacle, of being provoked to release devastating power from above, mapped precisely onto what we are watching unfold today. The deterministic verdict returned lean yes, probably affirmative. The polarity balance index was strongly affirmative at plus 2.151. The guidance detection indicator again registered extreme anomaly. A direct textual hit for the word king appeared in Jeremiah, anchoring the inquiry to a sovereign figure making decisions about the fate of Jerusalem. But the most striking element was the final verse drawn from the Book of Kingdoms. It described a battle on the seventh day where the children of Israel killed 100,000 footmen in a single day, and those who fled were crushed when a wall collapsed upon 27,000 more. The sequence was unmistakable. Priestly preparation, covenantal protection, and then sudden, overwhelming, catastrophic military action. The four-part division. With the strike question leaning affirmative, I press further. At 3:53 in the afternoon, I locked the third question. Will Persia be broken into 4 states? The lead verse came from Isaiah. But Israel will be saved in YHWH with an age-lasting salvation. Before even addressing Persia's fate, the Father redirected attention to Israel's preservation. Whatever shaking comes to the nations, the covenantal priority is the security of his people. The verdict was lean yes with an affirmative polarity balance index of plus 2.894 and a Dominion triad anomaly again at 9.79 sigma. The drawn verses painted a vivid picture. A kingdom fractured into rival centers of power, populations numbered and divided, people blinded to what was unfolding until it was too late, and a heavy, prolonged burden of grief upon the region. 20 minutes later, at 4:12, I asked the question again with different pre-register criteria. Will Persia be torn into 4 parts? This time, the deterministic verdict escalated to a full yes, affirmative. The Convergence confidence index crossed the threshold at 80%. The polarity balance index climbed to plus 2.662 with a confidence level below 1%. The lead verse from the Book of the 12 declared, "You who turn judgment to wormwood and leave off righteousness in the land, inquire of him that fashioned the 7 stars." When a power turns justice into bitterness, when it massacres its own people as Iran did in January, the one who holds the Pleiades responds. The drawn verses then traced a path through Daniel's account of Nebuchadnezzar acknowledging the God who frustrated the king's word, through the Queen of Sheba witnessing divine wisdom and confessing it was a true report, and into the question posed to the Messiah himself, "Are you the Son of the Blessed?" 2 experiments, 2 affirmatives. The territory of Persia will be divided into 4. That concludes part 1. In part 2, we will examine the remaining 3 experiments, including the question of whether Jeremiah 49:36 specifically foretells this division, whether the king of the north will unite with Israel for this campaign, and the final question, the one with a 48-hour clock, asked just hours before